I extend my heartiest felicitations to the students of third year honors Department of English, Government Rajendra College. Yet another lecture is going to be held online, and you are being asked to pay much importance on my lecture. You are being requested to listen to my lecture. If possible, you may listen to my lecture repeatedly or more than once so as to have a clear understanding to some extent with regard to Poetics by Aristotle. So, Poetics by Aristotle is a sort of literary criticism, and by paying much attention, you will be you will it will be easier on your path to have a clear understanding as regards observations made by Aristotle regarding literature. First of all, I would like to express in unequivocal terms that Poetics is a treatise on literature. Treatic. Poetics is a treatise on literature. The purpose of writing poetry is to reply to Plato's attitude on poetry and to repair the function and nature of literature. So here the purpose is to be taken into account to reply to Plato's attitude on poetry and to repair the function and nature of literature. A very significant point in this regard is that Aristotle defines poetry as a kind of imitation. So, you will have to comprehend this particular point. Aristotle defines poetry as a kind of imitation. The Greek word for imitation is mimesis. So, what's the Greek word for imitation? It is mimesis. And the observation made previously is that poetry has been depicted, poetry has been mentioned as a sort of imitation. Imitation is the common principle of all fine arts. Aristotle is of the view that imitation is found not only in poetry but also in all sorts of fine arts. The objects of imitation in poetry are men in action. So, the object of imitation in poetry are men in action. It is the function of the poet to relate what has happened but what may happen. So, it is the function of the poet to relate what has happened but what may happen. So, it is to be understood with critical observation what has happened and what may happen. You will have to ponder over the matter and take correct decision as regards such an utterance. You will go through your text and delve deep into the matter and make effort to understand clearly between what has happened and what may happen. Aeschylus gave the first place of importance to dialogue. Sophocles, an ancient Greek tragedian, introduced their character in tragedy. And you will also have to understand the view expressed by Aristotle regarding tragedy. Tragedy is a representation of an action that is worth serious attention. So, tragedy is the representation of an action that is worth serious action. Diction is the arrangement of the verses. Yet another point regarding significant point regarding diction is that it is the arrangement of the verses. So you will also have to comprehend or perceive Aristotelian view regarding plot. Plot is the arrangement of the incidents. You will have to understand clearly that according to Aristotle, plot is the arrangement of the incidents. Plot is the soul of a tragedy. So, yet another observation made by Aristotle is that plot is the soul of a tragedy. The plot of a tragedy should be complete and whole, and Aristotle has spoken highly of plot. He has underlined the significance, underlined the importance of plot. According to him, plot is the soul of the tragedy, of a tragedy, and he has also expressed the view that plot of a tragedy should be complete and whole. It should not be fragmented, it should not be partial. The plot having a beginning, a middle and an end is a well constructed plot. So, if you think of a well constructed plot, you will have to take three things into account. A well constructed plot should have a beginning, a middle and an end. A beginning, a middle and an end. According to Aristotle, plots are of two kinds, simple and complex. So, this very utterance is very much clear. According to Aristotle, Aristotle has classified plots into two categories. One is simple and the other is complex. So, simple plot and complex plot. Aristotle defines epic as a kind of poetic imitation which is narrative in form and which employs a single meter, M-E-T-R-E. So, evaluation of epic or the characteristic of epic has also been mentioned. It has not escaped the notice of Aristotle. As regards epic, he has expressed his view, and you will find such an utterance which is worth taking note of. Aristotle defines epic as a kind of poetic imitation which is narrative in form and which employs a single meter. It should be narrative in form. It is an important characteristic of epic is that it is narrative in form and it has a single, it employs a single meter. An epic differs from a tragedy both in the length of the composition and in the meter used. So, if you are to make a comparative study, between an epic and a tragedy, you can employ Aristotelian theory. Aristotle is of the view that tragedy and epic, in terms of evaluating tragedy and epic, you will notice that length of the composition and the meter used, these two criteria, in the light of these two criteria, you will be able to, you will find it easier on your part to differentiate between a tragedy and an epic. So, I have deliberated on Aristotelian view found in the Poetics. The Poetics is a literary work, but it is a literary criticism. So, you will have to delve deep into the Poetics. You will have to explore various observations made by Aristotle, and I think that the lecture delivered today on the topic will be of great use to the academic community. Although the entire academic community will not listen to my lecture, particularly the students of Government Rajendra College are being asked to pay attention so as to have somewhat clear understanding with regard to Aristotelian view expressed in the Poetics. With these few words, I would like to wrap up today's lecture. I extend my thanks to my students, and you are being asked to pay special importance on the session, and you are being asked to listen to my lecture if you want to reap or harvest benefit from my lecture. Thank you very much.